that's a good subject to talk about. TV appearances, that sort of thing. Obviously, as a promo guy, Steve, you would have taken a lot of bands to TV Centre. You would have been to a lot of Top of the Pops records and whistle tests and things. I mean, any stories there?
Well, yeah, it's a naughty one. It's quite naughty, but it's not naughty. It's the wording that's naughty. But I'm sure you can go beep sometime. If you remember, Freddie Jackson, "Rock Me Tonight," in the mid-'80s, it was a huge like soul hit around the world, and we made it a big hit in the UK as well. And we did Top of the Pops, and he was such a great fella, brilliant bloke, hugely funny, and he had a couple of brandies after rehearsals. And then before the show started, we all go to the bar at Top of the Pops, which I'm sure, again, a lot of you guys know. And you have a few drinks. You try and keep the artist under control. Freddie liked brandy. He liked brandy a lot. So we had a large brandy, and I said, "Okay, should we go down to the dressing room?" He said, "Oh, no. He said, "I want to stick around with the guys, and I'm enjoying it. I want to have another brandy." So another large brandy. It come to the third time he wanted a large brandy, and I said, "Freddie, listen, man, this is the BBC. You can't do that." He said, "I am the BBC with the BBC." And I said, "Sorry, what do you mean?" He said, "I'm a big black cunt with a big black cock." And that's one Top of the Pop story. Loads.
Front page.
Yes, well, there you go. But yeah, that's a true story. Yeah, but yeah, Top of the Pops, great bar, great atmosphere, great things happened up there.
Wow. Anyone else with a sort of skin of anyone who's got a skin of their teeth story? Somebody who only just made it to the stage or only just made it to a live show?
I've got one with the Poodles when we did our first Old Grey Whistle test, which was pretty exciting. I think it was our first proper TV, and I had again Mr. Full of Ideas, right? I had this idea. I'd wear a dirty old Mac. I worked out all the camera angles, and I wore this dirty old Mac. And I knew that they'd cut to the violin solo on this song called Bike Blood, and I'd have a chance to rip it off. And I had a gold lame jacket underneath, like a 1950s Elvis thing, And anyway, we finished the song. And Bob Harris, right, who had come into our dressing room first of all, and we knew he hated our kind of music because he was still stuck back in the early 70s. And he said, "Hi, I'm Bob, and how would you like to be introduced?" And I said, "Bob," and I suddenly flashed back to my first professional job when I was in a backing group for 3 girl singers when I was 19, called the Chantels. And I had to introduce them, and they said, they introduced us. They said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, 4 of the nicest boys in showbiz," which made our sphincters utterly kind of close up because you don't want to really be called that. So I said, "Bob, we'd like to be introduced as 4 of the nicest boys in showbiz." And he laughed nervously, and he said, no, but seriously." I said, "Seriously, Bob, 4 of the nicest boys in showbiz," right? So he says, "I'd like to introduce a band who like to be known as 4. No, we don't like to be known as. We are, Bob. We are 4 of the nicest boys in showbiz." Anyway, we finish our first song, and Bryn, our drummer, gets up and goes, "I'm going to kiss him." Now, this is all live, right? This is going out nationwide, completely live. He runs across the studio, looks at Bob, who's completely nonplussed at this stage, and he says, "I love you," and kisses him on the cheek. Now, if there's one DJ you don't do that to because you will just destroy him, it's Bob Harris, right? Who goes scarlet, absolutely scarlet, and says, "Oh, these bands will have their fun, won't they?" And after we finish the show, we're walking back to our dressing room. Bob Harris is just behind us. He sees us and ducks into the ladies' toilet just so he doesn't have to see us ever again.
Brilliant. Dennis, you mentioned Susie and the Banshees earlier, and of course Susie was one of the people on the famous Bill Grundy TV show.
Yes.
Have you got any memories of those days?
Well, Susie, they were very dour. I remember when we signed them, because I was desperate to sign them. And at that time, I was a product manager. So we had the Jam and Sham 69. And I'd heard Hong Kong Garden on John Pill's show. And I rushed in the next day, and I know Alan Black and Chris Parry were interested. I said, you got to sign them, because that is massive hit. And we finally got to sign them. And anyway, after we've signed the deal, I took them round the pub. Now, I've done this with loads of bands, and they all get loaded, have a good time, enjoy themselves. And they sat down, and it was like being at a funeral. And I'm sitting there thinking, you've just signed a great deal. I mean, I remember we signed the Jam for 6K, I think. And we signed Susie, I think we gave them 35,000. So, and they really was, it was like they were miserable all night. And I think that was the sort of atmosphere around the band.
Well, they were just trying to be cool.
Yeah. No, not really. They were a bit like that. I mean, when they used to come in the office, it was, the Jam all the bands came in, and it was, good fun. But when they came in, it was a bit, apart from Susie, because she did look good, I have to say that. She was a really good looking girl. I mean, with the old mini skirts and, it was a bit. But no, they were just a door band.
Yeah.
And they made, the first album was good, but, once it got to the second album, it was really hard work. I have to say that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Nigel, there must be stories at the Marquee. No shows, people late for the shows.
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is just to show the Polydor boys that and see if they recognise anything on there.
I went to that gig, John's Boys.
Yeah, not a bad lineup.
What's the date of that?
I think that's 77, 78 or 9, I think.
No, it's later than that, because they did, I think it's around 1980.
Yeah, about 1980. I've got to check that. But, that was a secret show. They'd all, they'd gone ballistic. They'd become huge, and they came back. They wanted to do a kind of a secret show. So under John's Boys, so their manager's named John.
Yeah,
we did that, but we had a massive bust up with them because famously the back wall or the whole club was black, and the Marquee sign was a sort of bright yellow, gold. They wanted to paint the whole back wall white and the Marquee sign black. And there was a real kind of locking of horns, which if you know about the Rolling Stones in about 1970, 71, they had a similar issue with Harold Pendleton back there, and Harold told them they could not, under any circumstances, cover up the Marquee sign, in which case Keith Richards took off his strap, swung it at Harold, just missed him. So I mean that's the issue with covering up the sign. It was that sacrosanct, but we compromised. They did paint the back wall, but they painted it back afterwards. But in terms of, I have got a kind of a old grey whistle test story from about, it would have been 1986, because Billy Gaff was in the process of buying the Marquee from Harold Pendleton. Billy Gaff was Rod Stewart's manager, or I don't know if he was then. I think he may not have been at that point. And he was buying the Marquee building off Harold. They'd had enough, and they were moving on. But Marillion, a band that I broke right from the start, they came and Old Grey Whistle Test wanted to do a live broadcast from the Marquee with Skinner, I think, was DJing it or comparing it. So it was all fine. The Marillion were huge at this point. All the TV crews were in there. You've all been to the Marquee. It's not a massive room. So there would have been dollies and this, that and the other and lights and the normal rigmarole of a gig and punters, obviously. But I go backstage just before they're due to go on and make sure they're all ready to go. And Skinner says, "Oh, I'll just interview you quickly before they go on." And I was totally unprepared for this. And anyway, I said to the band Fish and all that, I said, right, okay, you guys, you ready to go on? And yep, fine. He starts to talk to me and ask me about the change in the Marquee and who's buying it and Billy Gaff, and I just absolutely froze. I just didn't know what to say. I wasn't prepared for any of it. And I sort of blabbed out a few lines, got rid of him out of the way, got the band on stage and got on with it.
Did you, in all the years you were there, was there ever an act who never showed up or showed up like hideously late?
Not really, no. I mean, the band's not pulling out and what have you. I've got quite a good story. If you know Rob Hallett, any of you?
Yeah.
So Rob was a young, wet behind the ears agent at Derek Block's across the back of the Marquee in Richmond Mews. And we'd been chatting in the bar on a Thursday or something, Marquee bar, about all sorts of stuff. All the agents and managers used to meet at the Marquee bar. And he said, oh, look, I've got this tape. If you get a band pull out, that they sound really great, can you give us a call and we'll see if we can get them on, as a filler or even as a support. So I said, fair enough. Okay, yeah. And a lot of bands were actually booked like that, because if the agents were keen on a band, you'd listen to them. These were guys with their ears on the ground around the country. So as it happened, the day after, I got a call from the associates who were supposed to play on the Sunday saying they had to pull out. So I phoned Rob in the evening. He's still in the office on Friday night. I say, you know that band you're talking about, can you get them down here for Sunday? Oh, right. A few phone calls, got back to me half an hour later. Yeah, they'll come down. Did some kind of dodgy deal with them. And that band was Duran. And that was the first time they'd ever played in London. And as a thank you, I said, all right, I'll give you another gig in a week or so's time. And it kind of went from there.